Hi, hello, shalom, my name is Haley Buckle, and I'm an adult baby. Well, not exactly. Well, the shirt that I'm wearing right now is covered in stains, and I am wearing it to cover a stress rash, so yeah, I am pretty much an adult baby. So Isabella is born in Paris, France in 1295. And she was the only surviving daughter of King Philip IV and Joan I of Navarre. She's royalty. And in 1308, when she's about 12 years old, she is betrothed. She is getting married to her second cousin, once removed, England's King Edward II. Isabella is like 12, she's a preteen, and Edward is 23. So kind of a gross age gap. To make matters worse, Edward was in fact having an affair with one of the Gascon knights, Piers Gaveston. His father, King Edward I, actually knew about this. And years earlier, he had actually banned Piers from England, but he came back. And it was said at the wedding that Edward completely ignored his new bride. So he completely ignores her at the wedding, and he just talks to his boy toy the entire time. He even gave Isabella's jewels to Piers, and Piers apparently wore them around in public. He just was flaunting these jewels he got from his sugar daddy, King Edward. I mean, ouch, like poor Isabella, right? So she's not happy, she's miserable, and she goes to her father and she complains about her new husband. So King Daddy Philip is like, all right, I'm gonna take care of this. And he exiles Piers to Ireland. He comes back though. So then this whole war with Scotland happens, and the barons rebel against Edward. They're like, screw you, we're gonna kidnap your boy toy Piers. And they do, and they execute Piers. Apparently they take things one step further, and they take Piers' head and they parade it around the town on a ladder. So Edward is heartbroken, but not for long, because he finds two new lovers, a father and a son, both named Hugh and Hugh Jr. Dispenser. Meanwhile, dear Isabella gives birth to a baby boy. And we don't know if this is like, is this Edward's? Is this some other guy's? We don't know, but she names the baby Edward. So Edward III. Remember how Edward is like a super douche? Well, he gets worse. So there's more war going on, and Isabella is in trouble. And she almost gets kidnapped twice by the Scots in 2 different wars. And the second time, she asks dear old Edward for help, but he flees. And 2 of her ladies in waiting are actually killed, but Isabella manages to escape. Good for her. And then Edward all of a sudden is like, hey wife, you gotta pledge your loyalty to my 2 boy toys. And she refuses. And that really pisses Edward off. So he says, I'm gonna take all of your land, and you know our youngest children? They're now in custody of Hugh and Hugh. At this point, Isabella is just done with Edward. She can't take it anymore. She goes to France with her son, Edward III, to pay homage to her brother, Charles, who is now the new King of France, Charles IV. So Isabella returns to England with her big boy army, and she's ready to take on Edward. And she does. She takes over the throne and executes Edward. So according to the legend, Edward was killed by sticking a hot poker up his booty hole. But to not leave any marks on his body, they did it through a horn. But there are other versions of this story where he is strangled or suffocates to death. He dies. And Hugh also died. Daddy Hugh was hacked apart by English noblemen, and his remains were fed to dogs. As for baby Hugh, he was dragged, drawn, and quartered. So then baby Edward becomes the new king. But Isabella comes in with a new lover, Roger Mortimer. And she and Roger rule England for 4 years, not her son. But baby Edward doesn't like the fact that his mom and her new boy toy are in charge. So he leads a coup to get rid of Roger, and he puts his mom under house arrest for 27 years. I mean, talk about a temper tantrum. And Isabella tries to reason with her son. She begs him not to kill Roger, but he beheads him anyway. Isabella also makes a weird request to have Roger's heart preserved and then put in her casket with her when she dies. While she's under house arrest, she has a lot of time to reflect on things. So she finds Jesus and becomes a nun with the Poor Clares. And Isabella dies in Hertford Castle in 1358. So she was like 63 years old. I mean, a long life for the Middle Ages, right? Well, that is the story of Isabella of France. A much more interesting story than this meal seems to look. I am very concerned about this. There were some strange smells coming from that pot. And when I pulled it out, some of the pieces at the very bottom of chicken were not cooked. So, will I get food poisoning from this? Very possible. But let's see how it tastes. Maybe it will taste good. Cheers. Oh no, oh no. No, I'm crying a little bit too. This is so bad, I'm crying a little bit. Do you see that? Oh wow, that's bad. It's like salty, but there's supposed to be like sweet stuff in there. And I don't know why it's salty. Wow, okay, let's move on to the oatcakes. I actually had to do 2 tries of this because the first time the recipe told me to do egg whites and egg whites don't work. Cheers. That's not bad. Like, it's supposed to be plain and I accept that and I am good with that. But this medieval chicken is awful, horrendous. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Well, that is it for now. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you did not enjoy this, please let me know. If you have more stories and recommendations that you want me to do, people you want me to talk about, please let me know. I am going to go clean up this mess and throw this away. Bye-bye.